Are you against Zionism? You've made a lot of statements against Jews or Judaism. What's the distinction for you? Is there one?
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that say anti-Zionist because, there's been Jewish problems before the inception of Israel. And if you look at who started Israel, it was a bunch of Jewish terrorists. They bombed the King David Hotel. This is before Israel even started. So they were committing terrorist acts. You look at the Bolshevik genocide. So there's absolutely been a Jewish supremacy problem before the inception of Israel. So I think saying, it's only a Zionist problem is just ignorance. I think that those people don't understand the history. They don't understand how long this has been going on. And they got caught poisoning, Palestinian wells, Operation Cast Thy Bread. That is Jews poisoning Palestinian wells. And it was authorized by Ben-Gurion, who went on to be the prime minister of Israel, who was leading a terrorist gang prior to Israel's inception. So no, I don't say Zionist. And I also don't say all Jews. I say Jewish supremacy. So I think it's very important to talk about this and not be scared. And I think the crux of the issue is that their religion tells them that they are chosen by God, that they are better than other people, that they can lie, cheat, and steal from non-Jews, and that, Gentiles are like cattle. And you saw that in the Epstein files. He literally, if we would have said the things that Epstein said, it would have been the most anti-Semitic thing you've ever heard. But he literally said, this is how the Jew makes money, talking about Gentiles like we're idiots, and how they manipulate the markets and this, that, and the other. The guy won the fucking Powerball twice. I'm not going to ignore history. Like, I'm going to learn from it. And I, until 3 years ago, I didn't even consider this. I didn't think that Jews wouldn't like me because I was Christian. But then you start reading the Talmud and you see what it says. They believe that Jesus is in hell burning in shit and that anybody that's an idol worshiper should die. And so they consider Jesus an idol. So the religions are there's no such thing as Judeo-Christian values. That's complete bullshit. All these terms are very new. Judeo-Christian values was never a thing. That was introduced to the U.S. as propaganda. And so they've kind of hitched their wagon to Christianity for appearance's sake. But they don't actually believe that. And they've been constantly trying to pit us against Muslims, telling us that Muslims are the problem. They attack Muslims all the time. But this double standard of if you say anything about Judaism, you're an anti-Semite, this, that, and the other, which I find hypocritical because the Palestinians are the actual Semites. Semite is an Arab. Semite is somebody from that land. And most of the people that are in Israel are Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews that have absolutely no lineage whatsoever to that region. They have blonde hair and blue eyes. And that's why they all changed their names, because they had Polish last names. They wanted to sound like they were more from that region.
I agree with you on a lot of that. I'm a critic of many religions. And so, and Judaism is not any exception to that just because it is Judaism, which is what they try to tell us is you're not allowed to criticize this particular religion, but you can criticize any other one. I think that's bullshit. I criticize it plenty. And I think one of the biggest criticisms I have of it is the chosen narrative. And even if they say, well, it's not meant to be that, it's interpreted wrong. It's well, it doesn't matter what it was meant to be. The fact is it's being interpreted incorrectly, and it's being interpreted incorrectly in mass. And it is a supremacy ideology that any other group, we would try to eradicate that thinking out of. I agree that Zionism is one of the problems, but what feeds into it, unfortunately, is the victim the constant victimhood is, to me, another big problem of, if you believe you're the world's greatest victim and then you believe that the whole world is against you. And eventually you're going to go after every single group in the world. Right now it's the Palestinians and then it's the Iranians, but now we see it might be the Turks soon enough. And then ultimately Christianity has actually been the biggest enemy to Judaism, to Jews. For a much longer period of time. If you look at the historical persecution of Jews, Christians, if they're going to be pinning a group, it would be Christians who've done more than any other group against Jews, right? So Christians would be the natural.
That's how they frame it. They frame it that they've been persecuted. And that's how they're trying to frame the current situation as well. And I think that when you see them lie about these things, you have to then go back and start questioning how they've been presenting history to you in the past, because every Jewish narrative that I've heard recently is how October 7th, we were persecuted. They're trying to genocide us. Meanwhile, literally committing a genocide in 4K.
Yeah.
And so, when they say, oh, we don't really believe that we're chosen, or that doesn't mean this, I just look at their actions, right? Talk is cheap to me. I look at what they're doing. They're shooting children in the head. They're shooting aid workers. They're stealing land. They're constantly attacking their neighbors. constantly breaking peace treaties every time they break the ceasefires. Like, they are the constant aggressors. They are absolutely not the victims. And then they just lied to us about everything about October 7th. First of all, they let it happen. Second of all, the Hannibal Directive was unequivocally employed, where they killed their own citizens to pump up the numbers, and then tried to use the Hellfire missiles that hit the cars as like, oh my God, look at what Hamas did. They burnt this car to the ground. And so then when you look at the number of actual civilian casualties on October 7th, and if you compare it, the crazy thing is they actually killed more Palestinian civilians that year than civilians died during October 7th's attack. So how could you then argue that that wasn't a response to them murdering the Palestinian civilians that year? So look at this whole narrative, and it's all bullshit. They told you 40 beheaded babies. That was a complete lie. You know, they told us during the Holocaust that people were turned into lampshades. They were turned into soap, the roller coaster. It's just all bullshit. And they admit that it's bullshit, you know? And so when somebody lies to me on the scale of which they lied to us about these events, and continuously lie and gaslight us over and over and over again, it's not just a one-off incident. This is the entire government. These are, you know, like a country, right? And so now you have to then turn around and look at the lens of like, have these people just been acting like assholes for a long time because they believe that they're chosen, or have they been persecuted? But the odds of every single country around the world accusing them of the same things and all throwing them out, but then never actually killing them, right? They all just get expelled, and then they get let back in, and then they get thrown out again. And so I look at the history, and I really have to question the narrative of the persecuted Jew. I don't believe it.
I mean, I think that's fair. Okay, so then what do you want to do about Jews?
Well, I think there needs to be accountability. I think that they need to be taken out of a victim category because they're massively overrepresented in almost every position of power. They are as privileged as any class in the world anywhere. It's not even close. And so I think there should be accountability, right? Like with great responsibility, you know, should come, or great power should come great responsibility. I mean, if you're the president of the United States, everybody can criticize you, you know, this, that, and the other. Like, usually when you're in a position of power, unless you're a dictator in a communist country, you should be able to get criticism. So to me, that is the first start. Like, they have to stop weaponizing words. They have to stop enacting laws. I mean, Randy Fine enacted a law to throw you in jail for 5 years for anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, he's on his own Twitter account calling for the massacre of Palestinians, saying, you know, we should kill them all, bombs away. The streets should be, you know, run with the Palestinian blood. He's talking about how dogs are better than Muslims. I mean, this is craziness. So it's like, listen, I'm a free speech absolutist. You want to say all this vile shit about Palestinians? Fine, that's your right. People should judge you based on what you say. I'm actually okay with whatever you want to say, because to me, it's like, that's just exposing you. That's exposing who you are. People will see that and they will judge you accordingly, and hopefully not reelect you when you say vile shit like that on your Twitter. By the same token, everybody else should be able to say whatever they want about any other religion, including Jews. So you can't just punish people for going against your religion when nobody's actually even said nearly the vile shit that he said about Muslims, about Jews. So this double standard, this hypocrisy is what I really have issue with. Because to me, if we want to coexist on this earth as humans, I think that the only answer is pure equality, not victim categories, not supremacist mindsets, not I'm better than you or whatever, or this tribal bullshit. It's like everybody's equal, period. Like, take race out of it, take religion out of it, judge people at face value based on who they are.